Furland, Norway. 17 NATO member nations are participating in a 2-week trial called Unified Vision. An ambitiously named trial, but truly essential.
I spent 8 months in Afghanistan in 2008 working coalition operations, and one of the big difficulties within coalition operations is that information sharing.
Like Patricia, 1,250 participants from NATO member nations are involved in Unified Vision. The trial is based on the experiences of NATO member and partner nations in Afghanistan, Kosovo and Iraq, or, more recently, in Operation Unified Protector over Libya.
It started out as an operation led by just a couple of nations and transitioned into a NATO operation, so that was a different approach for us. But the result of that was that national capabilities, national procedures had to become coalition and NATO procedures. So it was a strange transition. So there were lots of interoperability challenges for us to overcome in sharing information, in technical interoperability, in targeting capabilities.
Organised by the NATO Air Force Armaments Group and partly subsidised by NATO's Defence Against Terrorism programme, Unified Vision trains and tests the nations in a very specific aspect of the operations: NATO's joint intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance capabilities.
All nations have their own sources and methods for collection, processing, exploitation, and dissemination. We now need, as a NATO coalition, to now look beyond one nation and say, now how do I make that digital information available on an open network to all the coalition partners, and how can we make our overall objectives met more effectively and efficiently, because you have a piece of the answer, I have a piece of the answer, and when we bring those two pieces together, it gives a much better answer for the commander.
The objective is to have a common vision of a theatre of operations, and one which is as precise as possible. For example, in the event of a demonstration, unmanned aerial vehicles can gather information which will provide valuable intelligence.
They will collect at first the number of demonstrators. So you see if it's a big crowd or a small group. Hopefully they will also identify the terrorist leaders or the insurgents, the leader of the insurgents. So in the best case they will get a really high resolution picture of the leader, so we can do further investigation.
Depending on the theatre of operations, fighter planes which are faster can also be deployed.
The fighter is very fast. It can reach multiple, well, a couple of hundred nautical miles in a short amount of time, so it's very flexible. And it can go basically wherever you want it to go, and then you can send it wherever you need pictures or wherever you need intel.
This information from an American drone and a Dutch fighter plane has to be shared with the other coalition nations. It is sent to this operations centre.
We take the information down from the flying sensors or the ground station, put them into an exploitation station, then we disseminate the products through something called a coalition shared database, and then this information is again picked up by the different nations to produce intelligence products.
For this to work, the nations have to agree on common standards such as time formats.
Do you want to use 24-hour system, 12-hour system, based on Zulu time, on GMT time or whatever? So these things you have to agree to easily exchange information.
It is not always easy to reach agreement, but harmonisation in the area of intelligence is essential for the future operations of the alliance.
It's taken in Afghanistan 10 years to develop the Afghan mission network. This is because countries traditionally have not been very keen on sharing intelligence. You can understand. You have to build a level of trust. You have to make sure there are procedures in place to safeguard that intelligence. But I would say that it would be really silly for NATO, having spent 10 years through an organisation like BICES that we have here in Brussels, which collects, collates and distributes that intelligence. I say it would be silly, having taken such a long time, to build up this level of trust once Afghanistan is finished, simply to allow all of these good contacts to dissipate. Because the next time NATO does a mission, we can't wait 10 years to establish an effective intelligence system.
This is a NATO Channel report from Norway.